Good evening. I must say, this is one programme I'd rather not have been presenting. When I heard the news of Benny Hill's death, my first reaction was one of absolute disbelief. Like millions of others, I thought it surely can't be so, especially not so soon after Frankie Howard. It's just not possible. But sadly, it was. Benny Hill was the most successful comedian the world has ever known. He was the lad from Southampton who did the rounds of the music halls and working men's clubs doing the jokes, and ended up being lauded by television audiences in 90 countries. He included Jack Lemmon, Clint Eastwood, Burt Reynolds, Greta Garbo and Michael Jackson amongst his fans, for he was the only British television comedian who ever really conquered the USA. Like the British, the Americans loved his seaside postcard sauciness, and to break into a British accent in the United States today invites the question, are you from England? Do you know Benny Hill? The truth was that very few people did know Benny Hill. He was a complex, deeply introverted man who was fiercely protective of his privacy. But millions knew his gallery of hilarious characters, especially this one. Benny Hill as Fred Scuttle, accompanied, as he so often was, by one of the stalwarts of the Benny Hill Repertory Company, Henry McGee. Henry, you worked with Benny Hill a very long time. How long?
Oh, over 20 years.
Was his a happy life, do you think?
I think it was. In his own way, he was a very self-contained man. And when I heard the sad news only today, I was minded of something which I thought at the time was very strange. And he said to me on his 50th birthday, he said, you know, I've had a wonderful life. I've been very happy, and I seem to have done all the things I wanted to do. He said, and I wouldn't mind if I went tomorrow. I thought that was a very strange thing to say, but he didn't say it in any maudling sense. But of course, it's even more astonishing because, in retrospect, because all the great things, his greatest success, happened after his 50th birthday, when all his shows were sold around the world and he set the world a-laughing. To mix a metaphor, he struck the world's funny bone amidships. He was a very modest man, extraordinarily so. I can remember once we were at rehearsal and there was a piece in the Evening Standard that was a positive eulogy of the man.
I remember it.
You remember, yes. Well, I said to him, hey, have you seen this? And I started to walk towards him. He was standing in the middle of the room and he backed away. He backed away. He said, yeah, I've heard about it, and he wouldn't read it. He never read anything that was in his favour. He never ever said anything that praised himself, ever, except once. And it's the only time I've ever heard him say anything that put himself in a good light. And that was, he recounted the story of when he was in Australia, and he was in a hotel, and he got out of a lift, and walking along the corridor when two men passed him. And one of them came back and said, excuse me, Mr. Hill, he said, but if you don't mind, I must tell you, he said, you are the most popular man in France. He said, all France loves you. They laugh at you like nobody else. He said, by the way, my name is Marcel Marceau. You see, and this really tickled him because he's very popular all over the world, but he was particularly popular in France. France is the only place where, during Christmas week, they had his show on every night of the week. No French show has ever been on every night of the week in Christmas week, except his. And of course, the French are the masters of mime. You have Deburau, Louis Barrault, sure, and of course, Marcel Marceau. And they loved him in his mime. And I think we are about to see one of his masterpieces as a clown.
The actress in that sketch was Louise English. Benny Hill rarely gave television interviews, but he made an exception for Des O'Connor last November in what now turns out to have been his final personal appearance on ITV.
Benny. Oh, yes. Is it Benjamin? I never did quite...
My name is Alfred Hawthorne Hill.
Alfred Hawthorne Hill?
And I called myself Benny because I admired Jack Benny so much.
Oh, I see. This is all news. I was hoping we'd get some of this out of you because Benny said, I'm going to hate this bit. I don't like being myself because we only ever see yourself, what, a couple of minutes at the end of each show.
Yes.
You do all the characters. So treat this, if you like, if it's going to be painful, as a visit to the dentist. I'll try not to make it too painful.
I must remember Michael Parkin says, never lean back when you've got that. Always lean forward like that.
Oh, I see. Like
he does, and you don't notice it so much there.
Well, the double...
Tricks of the trade.
Now, we were just talking to Mariah there, and she's had this phenomenal success in America. Now, I've just come back from America, and in the comedy field of television, I mean, yours is on an equivalent basis. You say to someone, well, first of all, they spot your English. You're English. The first thing they say is, do you know Benny Hill? Not Mrs. Thatcher, not the Queen.
Well, I'm prettier, aren't I? Ain't it the truth?
But I mean, when you go there, how is it for you?
It's lovely. It's lovely. People come up and say, you know, hi there, hiya, Benny, how you doing? Where's the little guy? Smack him on the head. Where'd you get the gorgeous gals from? Oh, God, they're gorgeous.
But you've never gone there, have you, to work? You don't really like the live stuff, do you, or do you?
I don't do live stuff, or very seldom. No, I prefer television. That's my sort of, my meat.
Yeah. Let me ask you a few things. Now, I'm going to try and get some answers out of you.
Go on then.
A few questions I must ask, because
Yes.
we've never seen Benny sitting on a couch with an interviewer before on television. What about this thing about you being a recluse?
Oh, that's the newspapers, they say
Yeah.
that. It's ridiculous. I'll tell you. My diary. I'll show you.
Got a diary?
Recluse. I go out, I enjoy myself, I have a great time. Here, look at it. This is last Thursday. Went to showbiz party. Drank Asti Spumante till I couldn't say it. Then went on the beer. Met Jim Davidson, a fine comedian and a gentleman. Had drinks with all three of them. Talked to Ray Allen, the ventriloquist. He told me he was taking Lord Charles to work in Israel. Asked if he could borrow my pencil sharpener. I'll wait.
Like all the great comics, he could make us laugh just by being himself. But he was a constant observer of his fellow men, and his greatest strength was in turning these observations into classic comedy characters.
I admired Benny tremendously. He was the first comic to turn his back on the variety theatre in the 1950s to concentrate entirely on television. He wrote all his own sketches and was the greatest creator of visual comedy ideas. Sadly, like so many comedians, he will probably come to be more respected now that he's gone than when he was alive. But above all, I admire him for the fact that he was, and is, our biggest comedy export, the only British comic to conquer America since Charlie Chaplin. Rest in peace, dear Benny.
I think that Benny was exceptional. Unlike so many comics who feel driven to go on proving themselves and need to hear constant applause and laughter to, you know, counteract the insecurities that a comic naturally feels, Benny, once he'd proved himself, and worked very hard to do so, he didn't feel the necessity to go on doing it again, and money and material wealth didn't mean a great deal to him. So he used to do 4 or 8 shows a year. I think it was only 6 sometimes. And that was enough, and it proves that if you do 4 successful shows, you can stay at the top.
Just some of the tributes that have been paid to Benny Hill. 2 people who knew him best were his longtime producer and friend, Dennis Kirkland, and founder member of Hill's Angels, Sue Upton. Sue, it's obviously a terrible loss.
Absolutely. He will be missed very greatly by myself and Dennis and, above all, millions of people throughout the world.
My impression is that he was not just a working partner and friend, but that he was a close friend of the small bunch of people who worked with him all the time.
He was indeed, yes. We used to have great laughs together.
No,
and
we didn't.
became... Yes, we did.
All right, then.
We used to argue a lot. You know, yes, we did, no, we didn't. He was great fun to work with, on and off the screen, and he became a very close member of our families.
Dennis, irreplaceable. I mean, is there anybody else like Benny Hill?
Oh, well, not at the minute there's not, but, I mean, it is nice that somebody says, is he irreplaceable? It'd be nice to see that the people who watch him, because his shows will be shown forever, which is the fortunate legacy he's left everyone. Because Benny wasn't a comic like, hello, hello, ladies and gentlemen, here's another one you won't like. He was one of the funniest character actors I've ever seen in my life.
In fact, you're saying he wasn't a stand-up comedian?
Not in my opinion, he wasn't, although he could do it. It was just another string to his bow. He is, any actor, especially abroad in America, they say your accents, your American accents are brilliant, Benny. How do you do? We can't do them. He had a natural knack for it. He was a great, truly great comic actor.
But also, surely, essentially, a great comic television actor, because he didn't do a lot on stage.
He, as far as I'm concerned, discovered television as far as comedy was concerned, which was shown in the documentary the other week. He used television. He gave up doing his stage work because, A, it made him nervous, as he used to call it, fingernails and aspirins. He wasn't like Tommy Cooper and people who just wandered on. That's how Tommy used to use it. Ben was frightened. But in television, he can control. He could control.
Sue, what will you miss about him most?
His presence as a really good mate. He was lovely, a good member of the family. And he thought a great deal of children. He loved our kids.
Yes, he
That's
did.
why I had them on the show. He said, let's have the kids.
Yeah.
He spoiled them.
He was hopeless. He used to say, I'm the best uncle in the world. Of course he was. He gave them 37 Mars bars every morning. And he thought that's how you handled kids. Then when they were being upset and saying, I want some more Mars bars, he'd have to do
He'd
us
give
lot.
them more. He'd give them more.
Give them
and
more
give
and
us
left
more.
it to us lot to sort it out and shoot the films that we did. But the kids was a very clever idea in the Benny Hill show. And it worked very, very well.
In 30 minutes, it's only possible to give a hint of the prodigious comedy output of Benny Hill during his lifetime and the millions of laughs he gave us. He'll be sorely missed because after a period when his comedy was thought to lack, shall we say, a certain political correctness, he's now back, firmly re-established in the pantheon of British comedy. And he'll surely be seen by future generations as one of the world's great comic geniuses.